Hello everybody, this is Caroline Jensen, a Sony Artisan of Imagery and instructor and mentor at Clickin' Moms. So today I wanted to start the first in the series of editing and behind the scenes of my process of what I do. And today I was shooting with the A9, the Sony A9, but I was actually freelancing, which is taking a lens and turning it around and shooting it backwards in order to create a macro effect. I was using the Burnside 35 from Lens Baby, and you can see here that I have some nearly spent flowers. They are destined for the trash or the compost pile or something soon. And I was by a big window, and I was trying to just create flare. Shooting backwards with your lens against the camera creates a macro effect and also allows light leaks to come in. So the images that I got were similar to this, and I have a few choices that I chose that I thought were okay. The thing with freelancing specifically is the fun is in the unexpected. You're not going to have a super sharp image all over the place. I think the aperture was 5.6 on the lens itself. I had it stopped down to 5.6, so the hole was relatively small. I mean, I guess that's a pretty wide aperture depending on which direction you're coming from, but I'm someone who usually shoots at 2.8 or wider. So it was pretty deep for me, but I had all of this flare that was coming in from it, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So I made a couple selections of ones that were, close to what I was looking for, and then I was just looking for composition-wise, what I wanted. Oops. And I think I'm going to go with, let's see here, this one perhaps. I like that this is sharp down here, that these little bits are sharp. I want something sharp. I don't want everything to be out of focus, but flare and light and movement and blur, it all is important to me. Having the out of focus areas look interesting is just as important to me as having the in focus areas be interesting. So I think I'm going to go with this one here. And as you can tell, there's a lot of light coming in, and there's some interesting light play and color, so I think I just want to amplify that. Now the one thing I'm noticing that it's kind of a bummer is that there's a squiggle all the way through this image, and I'm debating whether I want to even deal with it. It could be a spider web, it could be a lot of things. But I'm going to start by cropping in here just to get the flare to be completely within the frame. Like that. And just for kicks, I'm going to go check down here and see if that squiggle is through all of them. And it is, so I have to deal with it. Lightroom is not the best for dealing with cloning, but we're going to give it a go. I'm going to grab my heel tool, and I'm going to make it really tiny. Really tiny, and I'm on Lightroom CC, the cloud version, so there really isn't a whole lot of hope for customization, but it's something that I've been playing with lately. So I'm just going to go through this and see what that looks like. Now, because most of this is out of focus anyway, it's not going to be a huge problem if it isn't completely believable. Let me move this over. It still looks like there's something there, but to me that's not such a bad thing. I want to just draw the eye away from it, and that's not a good spot. The thing with Lightroom is it often, and I'm going to go to clone and see if that makes a difference. And if you, yeah, it does make a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to go in here and here. Oops, that's not what I want to do, right there. Really all I'm trying to do is just minimize the impact of this little squiggle line. I don't want it to go completely away because that would just, I don't know, it just takes a long time to do that. And it's out of focus anyway. All right, so up here there's some that's quite obvious. It almost looks like a spider web. I think that's actually what it is a spider web. We'll see if it does a good job. It's doing a good enough job for me. All right, so now let's play with some color. The program has some interesting presets, and I like to play with those, but the first thing I like to do is go to the light panel and play with auto. I teach a class on Lightroom called Communicating with Color and Light through Clickin' Moms, and one of the things that we do is focus a lot on the basic panel in Lightroom Classic CC. In Lightroom CC here, it's the light panel, and sometimes the auto, their auto intelligence or artificial intelligence, does quite well, and in this case it does really well. When you turn it off, it just kind of is a little flat, and it just amps it up. It's really gentle, unlike the auto in Lightroom Classic CC, which can be really over the top. This actually makes a lot of the adjustment choices that I probably would make on my own were I editing from scratch. So the one thing I do notice is I don't like how we've got this dark area here, so I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to grab my radial gradient, and I'm going to clear it off. I don't want it to have anything on it right now. I'm going to go to dehaze and go to the left and open up. Whoops, I want to invert that. Let's see how. Let's see how we invert it right there. And it's kind of filling in this area here. I want it to be feathered. And then I'm going to grab some whites and amp that up more. Maybe it's not going to work. How about some highlights? No, let's just go with more dehaze. And that kind of brightens it up a little bit in a more natural way. And then I can grab another graduated filter. I'm going to do a new one. Just click out of it and click back in it. And I'm going to up the exposure and just do a little one on top, just to cover up that little corner. So that took two graduated filters, one to use dehaze and one to cover the last bit of darkness with a little bit of exposure, but that works okay for me. Now I'm going to go over to the preset panel, and I'm not a big preset user, but I kind of think these are fun, and I just wanted to show you what they have. They're under their color settings. They have bright and high contrast plus detail, which I think is kind of nice, but a little bit too much for me. And vivid. I kind of like vivid. I think vivid brings out some of the jewel tones in it, and I like that. Like I said, I'm not a big preset user, but I'm learning to use this program, this Lightroom CC program. And why stress out about doing custom editing when you can find shortcuts that work well for you? Okay, and the only other thing I notice is a bit of darkness down here that I'm not liking, so I'm going to grab a gradient, linear gradient, grab a little bit of exposure. Oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I'll go back to the other one. Grab my linear gradient, go up from the bottom, and I'm just going to brighten that little corner up. Make sure that my feather is completely feathered here. I want it to kind of just be gradual. Lower the exposure there because it's a little bit much. We're just kind of covering up that dark little area there. Maybe down a little bit like that. So it's really subtle. We're just sort of blending it in. And that's good. The last thing I might do is play with the color panel. Oops, that's not, I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. Go down to color. And you notice that the vibrance went way up. That was part of the preset. The preset added +10 saturation and +40 vibrance, and it moved the tint over a little bit. So you can always look under the hood and see what those individual presets are doing. But because we have a lot of magentas and pinks, I'm going to grab this magenta color here and just see what that does, and it makes a little bit of pop. And over to the purple and see what that does. Maybe a little bit more of that. But I don't want it to be too much because we don't want things to print poorly. And I think I'm going to leave it there. I think this is quite pretty all by itself, and I'm going to close up these panels and leave you with this. This is the final image. Thank you. Bye-bye.